There are a lot of different editing styles, and it is always a big debate in the anime community what editing styles are quote-unquote bad and which ones are good. But honestly, I really think it just comes down to personal preference, and everyone can have their own favorite styles. And that's what you thought I was gonna say. Today, I'm going to be ending this debate once and for all and make the only true editing style tier list. So I made this tier list with some of the more popular editing styles, so I'm going to be rating them, and I definitely have forgotten some, so if I forgot your favorite editing style, that's my fault, but I think we have a pretty good list here, and I'm going to be ranking them based on how enjoyable they are to watch. So obviously I was joking earlier, and this is just my opinion, so if you disagree, feel free to tell me your opinion in the comments down below. And I already know that it's going to piss some of you off, so be ready for that. It's pretty straightforward. You have the tier list going from S to F, S being every time I see an edit this style I'm gonna watch it, and F being I don't want to see that edit ever again. Okay, so first editing style, we got rotation, and more specifically Xandros rotation. Some people call it edgy rotation. To be honest, for edgy rotation, I used to be a massive fan of them maybe a couple years ago, but over time I kind of started disliking the style more and more, and now honestly I just think a lot of it is just very repetitive, and you don't really see editors doing anything new and unique with that style too often. So nowadays when I see a rotation edit, I usually skip it, and because of that I will be putting rotation at the C tier. Next up, we got vibe edits. So vibe edits are usually pretty simple editing wise, but just very clean and smooth, and just like the style suggests, they're usually pretty vibey and very enjoyable to watch in my opinion. So I am definitely a vibe edit enjoyer, so I will be putting it in the A tier. Next up, we got typo edit. So typo edit can honestly mix with a lot of different styles as well. You see typo edits being used in 3D styles as well as daddy edits, but talking generally about typo, I do enjoy it quite a bit. Some typo edits can definitely be very unique with the text animations, which can make the edit quite enjoyable to watch. So I'll be putting it in the B tier of just like good, but also it's not anything too special. I wouldn't like necessarily go searching for typo edits to watch. Next style, we got flow edits. So flow edits are edits, as the name suggests, that try to make the clips flow as best as possible and usually have pretty strong sound effects and shakes to have a lot of impact. And honestly, over the years I kind of started liking flow edits more and more, from when I just started not really liking them and thinking that they're just a bit too overwhelming, to now enjoying them quite a bit. But honestly, flow edits just really need to be done right, because a lot of the time I'll see flow edits that are just really too much to a point where you can't see what's going on in the edit. If we're just talking about good flow edits, I do enjoy them quite a lot, and some of the links between the clips are just so satisfying to watch. So with that being said, we got our first S tier editing style. I might move it around later, but for now I feel pretty good about this. So the next editing style we got is twixer edits. If you don't know what twixer edits are, it's a style where they just take clips from the anime and twixer them, and that's pretty much it. Sometimes they add a little bit of shake and good quality, but that's mostly it. So definitely very simple and easy to make, which is why you see a lot of them on TikTok. And yes, maybe I'm just bitter because a lot of these edits get millions of views, even though it doesn't really take much effort and time to make, but I don't really enjoy watching them much, so I'm going to put this style in the F tier. It's just quite upsetting when you see such a simple edit get so many views when your edits that you've spent hours to make get not nearly as much views. But also, it's not really the most interesting style in my opinion to watch. So next up, we got 3D edits. So these are quite special and rare. You don't really see them very often because you really gotta have crazy editing skills to make them, and not just on After After Effects, but also on 3D softwares like Blender and Unreal Engine. So just that makes them very exciting to watch because there's not many of them. And besides that, they're just amazing to watch because how mind-blowing these edits can be. So 3D edits are definitely going straight into the S tier. I'll definitely put it before Flow. Next editing style, we got Mograph. It's a style where you use a lot of masking and elements to create a pretty smooth edit. With that being said, Mographs are pretty cool to watch, especially when the editor gets really creative with the transitions and elements. A lot of the time, Mograph edits don't really have story or really any substance behind them, so it does make it a little bit less enjoyable to watch for me at least. So I will be putting it in the B tier. I do prefer it over Typo edit though, so it's going to go right there. Next style, we got Hype edit. So Hype edits, as the name suggests, are usually very upbeat, fast-paced edits that usually are being used with shonen animes and have a bunch of effects usually, which is definitely more up my alley in terms of what I like watching. Now it does very much depends on the edit because sometimes, just like flow edits, I feel like Hype edit can get very overwhelming when people use too many effects, but when it's done right, vibe edits are definitely very enjoyable to watch. So I will be putting it in the A tier right before vibe edits. Next style, we got story type edits. So these are more so edits that are usually pretty clean and can kind of be pretty similar to vibe edits in the way that they're being edited, but the main difference is that you have more story behind it. So you use the edits to convey some sort of story within the anime or animes, and I honestly think that's what makes it so much more special, even though a lot of the time these edits are very simple editing wise, just because how they tell a story really makes these edits special, which is why I feel like those type of edits can be some of the more memorable ones that you come back to. And so I'm going to be putting it in the S tier right behind 3D edits. Next up, we got compositing edits. So this is a newer style that really just started becoming popular in the recent year, I would say, where you take scenes from an anime and switch the background of the clip to something else and use compositing to make it look like that's the original scene. I've also done some compositing edits, and honestly they're pretty fun to make, besides the fact that you will be masking clips for hours, and they're definitely very cool to watch because it's just really fun to see how clips that we've already seen edited hundreds of times before can look so different just by changing the background, and people definitely get very creative with them. So I'll put compositing edits in the A tier in front of hype edits. Next up, we got Neptune style edit, so named after the editor Neptune. It's a style where you use a lot of one-framers, some text animations as well. Some of you may strongly disagree with me, but I don't really enjoy Neptune edits much anymore. I do think that the way Neptune himself makes them is usually pretty good and fun because he does try a lot of different stuff in his edits, but the general style is very repetitive because people are just using the same one-framers and the same text animation on their edits, which is why I'm going to be putting it in the C tier right in front rotation edits. Next up, we got the AMV syncing style. Now, I really don't know what's the actual name of this style. I don't even know if it has a style, but the AMVs, just in case you don't know, when I say AMV, the main difference between an AMV and an edit for me is that AMVs are pretty simple in terms of editing, and it's mostly just syncing a bunch of clips together to a song. Usually they don't include twixer and transitions, so that's the main difference between AMVs and edits for me. So this style is an AMV that is synced in a way that they use sound effects from the anime clips to be synced with the song to create this pretty satisfying AMV. And so I honestly enjoy watching those AMVs quite a lot, even though I know that they're not very hard to make editing skill wise. It does take a lot of time to find the right clips to use for them, especially considering that those AMVs are usually longer and they're just so satisfying to watch. So I will be putting it in the B tier right in front of Mographs. Next up, we got story type MV. So this is pretty simple, similar to the story style edits, but the main difference is that it's not very edited and it's usually longer. So I do still enjoy watching those videos quite a lot, especially if they're well made and really convey a story well, but they're definitely not as nice to watch as story edits because they're just not very edited and not as smooth usually. And so I will be putting them in the bottom of B tier. Next up, we got glitch type edits. So glitch edits are usually, just like the name suggests, edits with a lot of glitch effects. Now, a lot of the time, these glitch edits can also considered edgy edits. So honestly, for me, glitch edits are not really my cup of tea. I don't really know what it is about them, but I just don't really enjoy watching them much. Now, recently, this new symbiote, is it?
Symbiote.
Okay. Recently, people have been making these symbiote edits, which I would consider as glitch edits, and those ones are honestly quite fire, and I do like them quite a bit. So in the future, if glitch edit would be more similar to that style, I might change my opinion, but for right now, I will put them in the C tier because most glitch edits I don't really enjoy. It's really mainly just the symbiote edits that I think are really fun to watch. So it will be going in the C tier in front of the Neptune style. Next up, we got manga edits. So manga edits are edits that the editor uses manga panels to make the edits and usually animates the manga panels to make them move. Manga edits are honestly very impressive just because I know it takes a lot of time to properly animate manga panels and make it look good. And it's just very cool because you can make edits on stuff that hasn't happened in the anime yet before it happens. For example, many people have made manga edits on the Gojo versus Sukuna fight and stuff like that. So because of that and just the crazy amount of skill that you need to be able to make a good manga edit, I am going to be putting it in the S tier in front. Actually, no, I think it's even better than the story edits. So it's going to go right behind the 3D editing style. Next up, we got a very controversial one, which is daddy edits. Some people call it raw edits. So daddy edits are edits that the editor uses strong transitions and position shakes to make a very smooth edit that has a lot of movement. Usually these editing styles are used to make edits on anime girls or boys, which is why I think it's called daddy edits. To be honest, I don't really enjoy watching daddy edits very much. Usually they don't really have a story behind them and it's just kind of like an edit on a specific character, as well as a lot of the time the movements in daddy edits are a bit too much, which is why I will be putting it in this bottom of the C tier. So second to last editing style is Hyperpop. So it's edits that are used with Hyperpop type songs, which is electronic music with a lot of bass and other sound effects. For the editing itself, it kind of resembles glitch edits in some ways, but a lot less edgy, and a lot of the time it also has a little bit of typo in it. So overall, I think Hyperpop edit are pretty interesting to watch, but it's not my favorite. I'm not a super big fan of Hyperpop music, and the editing style is kind of like what Hyperpop is for normal music, which is why I don't love it. So it kind of makes sense that I wouldn't love it as well. So I will be putting it in the bottom of the B tier. And lastly, we have my style. So honestly, I wasn't gonna include this in the video because I don't really think that I really have a style. If you watch my edits, a lot of them are different styles that we've gone through before, with kind of like a hint of how I edit. So I wouldn't really call it a specific style because I'm not really doing anything super different than what the normal would be, but because I am making the video and this is the only correct tier list, I might as well also rank my own style and put it at the top of the tier list. So yeah, with that being said, this is my final tier list. Actually, no, I've been thinking, I actually think flow edit, I kind of want to move it down a little bit. I would say flow edit would be right here because I don't know, flow edit to me, I kind of enjoy it similarly to how much I enjoy hype edit, but just a bit more, I would say, just mainly because flow edits use rap songs and songs that I like a bit more than hype edits. So I'll put it in front, but honestly, I don't think it's S tier with the other editing styles. With that being said, this is my completed anime editing style tier list. If you disagree with any of this, comment down below, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.